flashlight specifically from Shenzhen because it has a voltage regulator that will literally suck every last ounce of energy out of any battery you put into it.
That's neat.
I've taken batteries that don't work anything else in this house, kept them, put them in the flashlight, and gotten hours of light out of them.
That's neat.
Which is amazing. And then they just fucking
Now
stop.
it's dead.
Now it's dead. Like, beyond dead.
Yeah. You're done.
The electrons have just, like, fucking pulled over and went...
They've all left.
Yeah,
They've just all
we're
left.
Gone. We're gone. We're out of here. Episode 10.
10
of Talkbots.
Bot.
Talkbots.
Bop, bop.
Boop, 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 boop. I'm Karl.
I'm Adam.
And this episode is meant to be special in a sort of a get to know Karl and Adam kind of a way.
Welcome to the special episode
10. Dees. So yeah, so the way this is going to go, sort of kinda, is each of us has a few questions that we sort of came up with in advance, and we're going to pose the question, answer them ourselves, and then hand it off to the other person and get their thoughts, experiences.
Get their talking words.
Yeah. So the only thing we hadn't decided was who was going to go first.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Ooh, it's a tie.
Double skizzers. Go. Carl's covering me with his paper.
Okay, so I guess I'm going first.
Yeah.
So, bear with me because I thought the story came before the question, but or unless you don't mind me doing it that way.
Do whatever you want, Karl.
Okay.
It's your house.
So, that is true.
I'm going to do whatever I want.
But you know,
I'm
that's
a
not
guest.
a very fair way to put it because one of the first things that we always tell our guests whenever they come over is like, you're on your own.
Right.
The fridge is there. There's another one back there. The bathrooms are here. Fucking whatever. Do it. Live it. Okay, so...
I never got that treatment, by the way. I was never told where the bathrooms were and definitely know where the fridge was. Okay, come on.
Okay,
Let's hear
so...
your weird story.
Yeah, so the first time that I ever left the country was to go to the U.S., and that wasn't really a very interesting experience for me because the U.S. is very similar to Canada. The thing that really stuck in my brain, considering how young I was when I first went to the U.S., was how, and I hate to say stupid Americans are, but definitely how unaware of what's going on outside of their own borders people were, because they had no idea that we even had electricity.
Sure.
In Canada.
Oh, man.
Okay, so that's my precursor to the next part of the story, which was the next country I got to visit outside of Canada was Germany. And that was in 1982. I was 21 years old. I had been in the military for not even 3 years, 2.5 years. And the military unit that I belonged to had this weird agreement with the British Army that we were allowed to send Canadians over there on an exchange program for a month to observe how they did what they did in Germany as a British Army. And in return for that, we would allow British soldiers to come to Canada and practice winter warfare exercises in the middle of winter. Like,
wow.
Obviously we know who got the shitty end of the stick on that deal.
Absolutely.
But this trip to Germany was mind-blowing for me because first trip to Europe, Germany was an exceptional country to be exposed to for your first visit across the pond. And the things that really stuck with me about Germany was how clean it was. No litter on the streets whatsoever. Germans, at least in the early 80s, seemed to take a lot of pride in their places of residence. It blew my mind how you could walk into a pub and there would be kids in there with their parents, not hanging with their parents, but they would be in the pub with the rest of the family, and no one blinked an eye about it. They weren't drinking, but they weren't. The idea of kids being in a pub wasn't. There was no stigma behind it, and I'm sure that probably had a bit of an impact on how alcohol was treated in their culture when they got older. Went to a burger joint one time and found my burger to taste a little bit odd, only to discover it was made from horse meat. That kind of blew my mind. And then later in life, only to find out where that horse meat came from.
A horse?
Here.
Oh.
It came from Alberta.
Really?
Germany gets a lot of its horse meat from Alberta.
Wow.
I didn't even know we were slaughtering horses for meat.
Oh, that was just for glue.
Apparently not.
Jello.
The Autobahn blew my mind, of course, because of the unlimited speed limit for the most part. And then the last visit we did while we were there was they brought us to Hamburg and gave us a tour of the red light district of Hamburg. And then just before we got on the bus to get back to base Sunday morning, we all met down at the harbor, right at the point where harbor was basically turning into this giant market that everybody went to on Sunday morning. So that was pretty mind-blowing. It was a very unique place. The culture seemed very mature. And for someone coming from Canada, it was a lot to take in, but I was very impressed with it.
Sure.
It really left a good impression on me about that country.
Yeah. It's like meeting an older uncle that you respect.
Yeah.
Right? Just
Yeah.
like, he's got his shit together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the quality of goods there, like their clothes, their stereo equipment was just like unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. The stuff that I saw was just incredible. So that was my experience of a unique, different place that I got to visit. And nothing has come close to it since.
Really?
Nothing has come close.
Did you go see the wall?
Since. I didn't see the wall in Berlin, but I did get to visit the border.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But from a distance.
Yeah,
So it was like us with binoculars in uniform,
right.
looking at East Germans looking through their binoculars back at us.
The Westerns. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So I was one of the few people who actually got to see that contraption before it was obliterated. And now it's like just a distant memory to those people, or at least the young people who live there anyway.
Yeah, if they have any, well, many don't have memories of it all.
No.
87 was a long time ago.
That's
now.
right. That's right. So
87 or 89? Oh, shit. 89, November 89? Or November
something
87?
like that.
I don't remember.
So what about you? What's the most unique or different place you visited in your life so far?
Strathmore. No, I'm kidding. It smells like piss all the time. It's funny that you started the story off with
I think
going...
I know what the answer would be, but it'd be interesting if it wasn't the answer I was expecting.
It is. But it's interesting that you started out your story with the States and how it's just weird. Because like you, the first place that I ever went to was the States. My family was on a trip to Kootenay Lake, a vacation there. And anybody who knows Western Canada, Kootenay Lake, when you're driving to it, is like seconds from the border. So you can just dip down. And you dip down into Idaho. So, and I had to be, I don't know, 8, maybe 9 years old when we first went. And you grow up thinking the United States is everything because it's in all of our media and blah, 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 blah. And I was just enamored by the idea. And I remember we drove into Idaho, and I said to my parents, like, all right, let's go to Hollywood, thinking that this, like the United States, like this is what it was. And I can still remember that feeling of just being so excited about being in the United States. And the other times that I've traveled as an adult to the United States, like when I've gone to the big cities, I've felt that feeling too. Because I've arrived in all of the big cities via vehicle first that I have like idealized.
Mm-hmm.
Like Vegas, I drove there.
Right.
San Francisco, I drove there. New York, we drove into. So you could see it coming.
Yeah.
And it was just like, holy shit. LA, we drove into. You just see it coming. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Now, was that the most interesting experience? Oh, hell no. When I was 19, I was seeing this woman whose stepfather was friends with a guy who was into construction. And they were building houses. The small team of guys were hired to build some houses, and they had hired a gopher, a guy to go and just move shit around, so some young, stupid kid. And he bailed on this job, so they asked me. So I said, okay. And this job took me to Japan. It was the first time away from home. I had never been away from my parents or my sister or friends. I had a long-term girlfriend, and it was terrifying to go. First time on a big airplane, and I still see it, and I certainly still feel the emotional weight of it. And it was crazy. So we get to Japan, and it's a blur for a few days because you're flying west, so you've got jet lag.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do well with it and whatever. So I wake up the next day, because I go right to bed, and I get up the next day. And it was dark when we arrived, and I looked outside, and I was like, what in the fuck? Because we were in a farm. Essentially, we were in a farm town. It was a small little place. We lived in a small town.
Oh, wow.
This is where we were contracted to build these two houses, these Western-style houses. Because in Japan, at that time, and probably still is all about how, just image. Mm-hmm. And having a Canadian home meant you had a shitload of money. Because you've hired white folks to come out to build you a house.
Right.
So, anyway, so that's what we did. But anyway, we were living in this small town. Small, quote unquote. I don't know how big it was. But it wasn't the Japan that you think about. Because everybody thinks about Tokyo.
Yeah.
Or Kyoto, or just big cities. Filled with millions of Japanese people. And it was cool. It was so cool, actually, because there were old traditional houses. There were shrines all over the place. Going to a grocery store, and I lived on cup of noodles because I didn't know what the fuck else was going on. I was introduced to Japanese mayonnaise, which is the most delicious mayonnaise in the world. So if you haven't had it, get it. And crazy cup of soup. Crazy flavors, curry flavored and weird seafood flavors and just shit like that. So anyway, we'd go and build the houses and blah, blah, blah. And I had never done construction work before either. So my sorry ass just worked. I was exhausted. Constantly had a low blood sugar. It was terrifying. But conveniently, there were vending machines everywhere.
Yeah.
Just it's a
with
fucking
everything.
meme. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I found used underwear in a vending machine for sure. I didn't buy it because that's gross, but I found it. Not to kink shame, but gross. So yeah. So we'd work 6 days a week, and then Sunday we could do whatever. And for the 3.5 months we were there, we went to Tokyo a couple times. And that is the way I described it back then when I came home is still appropriate today. It's if you take Canada and you take any big city, the people wandering around and all that shit just living their lives, and you flip it the fuck upside down and shake it like a snow globe, that's Japan. Everything is different. Everything is different.
With maximum intensity.
Oh, yeah, man. It's like snort and blow all the time. Just constantly in you, just coming at you. And it's wild. Mm-hmm. The different neighborhoods in Tokyo are just wild, and just lights and noises and people. The people. They were so many people. And like you, we went to a market on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost got my eye taken out a number of times because it was raining and there were umbrellas. And I was definitely one of the tallest people there. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
It was crazy. It was.
Oh man.
It was unbelievable.
Did a lot of people stare at you?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, not only am I tall, I'm a big dude, right? And it was just like, whew, this guy's wild. Girls coming up all the time. Not just, but lots of young guys coming up too, because they all want to speak English.
Yes.
Because they learn English.
Right.
In all of their schools, they have to learn English.
And they want to show you how good their English is.
They want to practice.
Yeah.
They know that they're shit at it.
Right.
But they want to practice.
Right.
So they come up and talk to you, and you have no idea what the fuck they're saying, but they're saying words mostly. So you throw it back at them and try to speak their language, and it's atrocious. So it was neat. I didn't know any Japanese when I went, because it happened really quickly. The invite, decision, and go felt really short.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really prepare. There was
Right.
not really much to prepare. Because we didn't have visas. Yeah, so it was a little on the, not the up and up. But it... So anyway, I didn't speak any Japanese, but it's like my brain was still mushy enough when I was 19 that I absorbed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end, I could sort of understand conversations. I could communicate very, very little, but I could do it. And it's still in my brain. And karaoke.
It's a religion over there.
Man, and they practice that religion so well. It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I remember just belting out Belinda Carlisle. It was amazing. It was an amazing trip, and I've never been back. And I've always wanted to go back, but it's no small feat to go to Japan, mostly financially. And time. It takes for fucking ever to get there.
Yeah.
Right? It's a long plane ride. I've just never gone. I've always intended to go. And I would love to take my daughter there one day. Just because it's just so wild. I'd love to go back. So
I've always been intrigued by what I've seen of Japan. Both the rural side of it and the urban side of it. And I know the urban side of it, it would just be, like, I know Darlene would never want to go to Japan because it would just be just too much. Mm-hmm. Too much of a sensory overload. No peace, no quiet, unless you actually went out of a big city. But yeah, to be able to experience that'd be pretty cool. Every once in a while I'll pick up a 4K YouTube video and watch a guy walk through some neighborhood in Tokyo or whatever, and it's just enthralling.
Yeah, there's a couple people on Twitch that stream walking to work and shit like that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and it didn't feel overwhelming. It just felt like you were at some sort of show.
Right.
Like it was just because you
it's
are
surreal.
And you're so on the outside.
Yeah.
There's nothing about you that fits here.
No.
Right?
You can't relate to it.
Behaviors,
right.
The food they eat, like the way that they live is all so foreign that you're just observing. Mm-hmm. So I didn't find it overwhelming, like with all the people. And I do get overwhelmed with people, and I don't like huge groups. But
so it was as if you got plopped in the middle of a strange movie.
Yes, it absolutely was. It absolutely was. Yeah, I thought, or rather, I am surprised that I wasn't overwhelmed by it because of the exact same thing you just said, but it wasn't at all. Because now you're just... It was like I was a character in a video game more than just plot, because I could participate in the world, right? I wasn't just a casual observer. I tried, and I just didn't know the controls.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was neat. It was neat.
Too funny.
Yeah, man. And
Your turn.
Okay, my turn. Okay. I am going to ask the question first and then tell mine. and it's not going to be as verbose as Karl's, because who could be as verbose as Karl? But how do you make yourself fall asleep when you're struggling to just go to sleep? Do you have any tricks or things you do? So, me, the first one is, of course, everybody's thinking it. Yeah, man, is to pull the goalie. Absolutely, it's the number one thing you do. That's the first step. If that doesn't work, oh boy, we could be in for some trouble. It might be insomnia time. Now, I don't know why, but I've developed a couple techniques that seem to work. And it's all about visualization for me. And I have different ones, like there are levels to it. If this one fails, I move to this one. If this one fails, I move to this one. And the last one that I go to, I don't use all the time. Even on nights that I'm not sleeping, because I have a fear that I'll use it up. Like it's some fucking superstitious horse shit. But it exists at fucking 3:30 in the morning. It's there. And I'm like, I can't touch it. Because one day I might really need it. So the first one, goalie. Whoop. Usually works. 98% of the time. Then I move into visualizing my day as a cartoon. I see what I did in snapshots as a cartoon. And the intention of it is that it is taking me into sort of a semi-dream state. It's just fucking wild and weird. But you still think about what you've done, so there's still structure to it. And that is very quick, usually, to plot me over. It's in one of those, it often does one of those weird things where you have fallen asleep, but you don't really know that you've fallen asleep, because my dream state turns into a dream. Mm-hmm. But I am actually asleep. Because you wake up and you're like, what the oh shit, I was there. And then you pass right back out. The next one I do is that I used to play World of Warcraft a lot. Mm-hmm. So if that one fails, usually 2 and 3 are interchangeable. When I was playing World of Warcraft, I used it more often, but it still works now, is that I wander around the world, because I played World of Warcraft so much, like I knew the world. Mm-hmm. I knew little things, I knew what creature was here, I knew the caves, like shit like that. Mm. So I would travel that world. Again, building this dream state. Mm-hmm. And again, all really very effective. Now, if none of those work and I feel like pulling out the big guns, I don't know how I invented it. But what I do is I visualize a silhouette, a forestscape with a moose. And the moose is like hypo-technicolor, who comes in and out of being a cartoon, like Bullwinkle, and big yellow eyes, and then goes back to the silhouette, and it works every time. It's the weirdest thing. Oh, sorry, and I forgot to state is that I have a mantra that I say. So it comes back to what a lot of people talk about when going to sleep is like a meditative state, because that's what it is like I say, and I haven't had to say it for a long time, so it might not be quite it, but I dream, or I say, I want my sleep to feel like it's a very long time. I want to dream all the way through. And there's one more, and I don't know what, like I remember it when I'm there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but I say these 3 things, and I visualize this fucking moose, and I'm out, and it's an amazing sleep. Yeah, man, I get your face. I get it. It's weird, but
whatever works.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, for me, it's been inventing a dreamlike story that helps me take my mind off whatever is preventing me from falling asleep. Because that's the thing. The only thing that really keeps me awake for a long period of time, my wife really hates me because I find it so easy to fall asleep under normal circumstances. But when I've got a lot on my mind and I can't get those busy thoughts out of my mind, this is what I'll go to. And I invented a story for myself where, this is going to sound so boneheaded. I invented a story for myself where I accidentally stumbled across a hidden alien base in the Rockies that no one else had found yet because it was very well camouflaged.
Yeah.
You would have to get into a very weird place up on a very weird mountain in order to discover this place.
Okay.
But once you get inside, you suddenly realize that Earth has been visited by advanced civilizations in the past, and they spent some time here to observe. And then the more I learn about this civilization, the more I realize, and the place is still, it's deserted, but it's still fully functional. So everything works, all of the information is accessible, tools, ships, craft, you name it. And turns out that not only did this civilization visit us and observe us, but they also took advantage of our, lack of advancement and basically enslaved us for a while before they got tired of us and moved on and went on, to another place. But they left this base behind. And my dream-like state, or, I just basically try to take the story from wherever I left it off last time.
Oh, interesting.
And try to advance the story further.
Oh, cool.
And I got so far along that I actually found a way I found one of their ships. I figured out how to pilot the ship. I took off with the ship away from Earth, found out where they were from, went to that system, found out that there was a whole bunch of other civilizations that were pissed off at this civilization because they had done the same thing at their planets. And they all wanted to go and basically wreak havoc against the civilization because, how dare you, take advantage of all these young, non-spacefaring, non-technical civilizations and enslave them and take advantage of them. Now we're going to show you, and we're going to show you with your own technology because we've already, we've stolen your ships and now we're going to come and take the fight to your door. Sometimes all it takes to get me to sleep is to just explore the ship a little bit.
Cool.
And interact with the crew members.
Right.
And get some information about something that's happening out there or whatever. And then next thing, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my go-to.
That's so cool.
Thing for falling asleep.
Because it builds this weird association, right?
Yeah.
I'm searching the ship. It's time for sleep.
Right.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when I mentioned the World of Warcraft thing, I repeat. Intentionally, I'm doing the same thing every time. I don't go to different places.
Right.
I do the exact same thing.
It's like a routine.
Yeah. I'm generally quite a superstitious person. So I think that plays into it. I don't want to fuck with it. Right? If I do something different, I might lose it or whatever.
So when you encounter anybody or anything, it's always the same encounter. The details are the same.
In with the moose, yes, and with the World of Warcraft, yes. The cartoon one, not, because it's a dynamic replay of the day.
Right.
Yeah. 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 That's wild. That's so cool. And like you, I am very fortunate. I have very little problems falling asleep. These are things that I pull out rarely. Like if I have...
I'll do them sometimes whether I need to or not.
Yes, okay, fair enough. Yeah, me too. But
just to entertain myself.
Use them.
Yeah.
To use them as tools.
Right.
Because, sometimes you just do it. Because sometimes you're just like, okay, I'm done. I just want to go to sleep. And boop, off I go to the spaceship in your case. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Next question. Or, next story, followed by the follow-up question. So, the most interesting encounter that I ever had with a famous person.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
While I was living and working in Kingston, Ontario, in the military, my wife and I decided to go and visit Montreal one weekend, just on a whim. And she was a whiz for getting deals at hotels saying an anniversary or whatever, or honeymoon, blah blah blah, whatever, because she knew the tricks of the trade to get hotels to give you some kind of a special deal for a special situation or special occasion, and she booked us at the Delta Hotel in downtown Montreal. Little did I realize we were going on the final weekend of the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. And the Delta Montreal is their headquarters, right, for all the comedians that are showing at all the gigs around town.
Yep.
All of the comedians.
Okay. So
we're checking in, and I'm watching George Burns get wheeled through the lobby from his assistant and stuff.
That's neat.
And I'm just like going, oh my God, like what have we got ourselves into here? So we check in, we go to our room. They fucked up. They didn't give us the room they were supposed to. We were supposed to get some highfalutin room on one of the higher floors of the hotel, and they put us in some schluppy suite on our room on the sixth floor. We went out for a while. We came back. She went to the front desk, explained what happened. They apologized, said they were going to put our stuff, they were going to move it for us and put us in the room we were supposed to have been put in the first place. And then we get up there, and it's the suite we were supposed to get. But it was a rigmarole to get to it, and it wasted a good part of a day getting it all sorted out. We were only there for a weekend. But we're there, we had a good weekend, and on the morning that we go to check out, we go to get on the elevator, and there's this woman who's acting all frantic and stuff, sort of going, guys, sorry, I'm just holding this elevator for my party. Do you mind? And we're like, no, we're cool. So we're kind of wondering, okay, so who's she holding the elevator for? And the first person that comes around the corner, you can hear him as he's laughing coming down the stairs or coming down the hallway. It's John Candy.
Oh man.
And his family. So he comes around the corner with his family, his wife and his two kids, and he comes around and he sees the girl at the elevator, and he's like, where's Kevin? Is Kevin not here? And the woman's like, no, I don't know where he is. And John kind of peeks around the corner, Kevin, get your butt down here. And I'm like, Kevin who? Do you know who Kevin Pollock is?
Yeah.
It's Kevin Pollock.
Crazy. So
the Candy family are there waiting at the elevator. They're waiting for Kevin Pollock. I don't know why them were together. Maybe their rooms were beside each other or something, but whatever. So he finally comes down the hallway, rounds the corner, and there they all are at the elevator, and they get on, and they look at us, and they're looking at each other, and they look at the assistant, and they just kind of like give them a nod, and they go, come on, and invite us onto the elevator. So now I'm in the elevator with John Candy, Kevin Pollock, and John Candy's family. And I am so having an out-of-body experience that I do not realize my suitcase is blocking the elevator door from closing. And finally, John, because he was a tall guy.
He was a big dude.
He was a tall guy. He finally bends down and goes, sir, your bag's in the door. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I pull the luggage in, the door finally closes, and we head down to the lobby. So we all pile out of the elevator. They go off to do their thing. Darlene's only interested in heading for the counter so that we can check out. And I'm just like, my mind is just going, I need to get his autograph. I need to get his autograph. Because I had been collecting autographs of SCTV members for my nice SCTV coffee table book. And I'm thinking like, fuck, I got to get this guy's autograph. So I said to Darlene, I said, I'm going to try and get his autograph. And she's like, don't bother the guy. And I'm like, no, seriously, I got to get his autograph. I said, I'll catch up with you. Just do what you got to do. I followed them into the gift shop. I finally got the nerve to go up to him and I go, Mr. Candy, can I get your autograph, please? And he's like, got a pen? Oh, gee, hang on. So I run over to the counter where the sales counter, and I'm trying to get the attention of the woman behind the counter, but she's yakking on the phone and she's not paying any attention to me whatsoever. And I'm trying to get her attention. So I just need a goddamn pen. Of course, I'm not putting two and two together. You need more than a pen to get an autograph. You need something for the guy to sign onto as well. So I finally get the pen before they leave the store. Got the pen, and now I'm realizing I've got nothing for him to sign. So I take the parking ticket stub for parking in the underground parking, take it out, and I get him to sign that. And then that was the end of the encounter, and they went off and did their thing, and we went off and did our thing. And we got in the car and we drove home, and it was quite a story. We get home, my wife says, that was a really shitty situation that we had to endure with that room. And I'm just like, really? We're still on that? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to write the manager and tell them that, they ruined our weekend, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but they didn't really. And she's like, yeah, I know, but, maybe they'll do us some kind of a kindness or whatever. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So she wrote a fucking nasty letter to the manager of the hotel. And they wrote back and said, we are so sorry for ruining your special day. This is totally not in line with the way Delta Hotels treats its customers. We encourage you, please, to come back and enjoy one of our suites on us, on the house, the next time you're in Montreal. And she's like, want to go next weekend? I'm like, okay, I guess so. So we go back to the hotel 2 weeks after this happened. And we get on the elevator and we're going to the top floor. The top fucking floor. And it's the same floor that we stayed at the first time. But now, I'm looking at how they've got in the hotel halls, the placards showing, rooms 1 to 12 is that way, and
sure.
12 to 13 or whatever is in that direction or whatever. This is pointing off in a different direction from where we had stayed, and I'm counting down the rooms. It's like 14, 13, 12, and we're going to 01, 11, 10, and I'm realizing now we're way down at the end of the hall, and now I'm putting two and two together. This is the direction John Candy's family came from the last time we were here. So we get to the end, and this is a hotel door like I've never seen before. It's a double door. Sure. Right?
Yeah.
And we opened the door, and I could not believe what I see. There's a staircase leading up to another level, right inside the door, and then the rest of the suite is like a normal suite with a separate bedroom and an ensuite bathroom and a living room and the whole 9 yards. And we're like, okay, well, if there's a whole fucking suite down here, what the fuck is up there? So we go up the stairs. It's a whole servant's kitchen, a fully equipped dining room with a cherry wood dining room table with, I think, like 8 or 10 chairs around the table. And then this massive seating area, like a giant living room with windows on 3 sides on the top floor of this hotel, overlooking downtown Montreal. There must have been at least 5 or 6 couches,
right,
and 4 or 5 love seats and a couple of recliner chairs. And we're just digging this room, and I'm just going, this was fucking John Candy's suite. We're living in the suite that John Candy and his family stayed at when we were here last time. So not only did I get this guy's autograph, but I also got to stay in his suite a couple weeks later.
To live his life for a weekend. That's cool, man.
Oh, it was so weird. That's just so weird.
Cool. That's fun.
How about you? What's the most interesting encounter you've ever had with a famous person?
I haven't had many. I've got, the stories are short. So one was, there's a punk rock band that I was really big into in the 2000s, and a band called Frenzal Rhomb. They're from Australia, and the chances that I would have ever seen this band were like minuscule. Like Australia's a long way for a band to come to play. So there was a festival that that was on, and they got onto the bill really quite late to an already sold out venue. Right? So I couldn't see them. And then there was a rumor that came through that they were going to be playing at the Night Gallery that night. So what the fuck? And off I go. Off my best friend and I go to the Night Gallery. And it was dead in there that night. For whatever reason, the Night Gallery was never dead. It's a place that fucking served hot dogs and alcohol. Like, it's not ever dead. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we're up there, and they go on stage, and I am right up front. And this is a bar venue, so the stage is 2.5 feet up, right? So right there. And they start playing, and I'm that guy who is singing every word to every song, and they're like, how the fuck does this Canadian dude know? Oh, anyway, so they're doing whatever, and drunk as fuck. They're just a mess playing. And the lead singer jumps up, doing his punk rock thing, slips and falls backwards, and lands on his arm, and his elbow bends the other way. And I catch him, and he's leaning on me to fix the song before he passes the fuck out. So he finishes this song, and the bass player thinks that I'm attacking him. So I'm listening to this guy, this song that I really like, and I've got the bass player kicking me in the face because he thinks I'm hurting the lead singer of the band. So that's probably the weirdest one.
Jeez, I thought you were going to say they invited you up to finish the set because the singer couldn't sing anymore.
Absolutely not. No, I helped him not break his arm any further, and I got kicked in the face. It's fucking funny.
That's bizarre.
And another small one was another punk rock show was the band The Vandals. A huge fan of them. They would typically headline shows south of the border, but you come up here and they were touring with The Offspring. It was at Max Bell. So they were there, and I was not there to see The Offspring. I was there to see The Vandals. And during that time, I spent a lot of time on the forums on their website, chatting with everybody, and including the bass player of the band, who was also their manager and stuff like that. I'm just hanging around outside the doors of the venue, and I saw the guitar player come out, and I was, hey, how's it going? Shook his hand and said, good show, blah, 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 blah. And then the bass player came out, and I was like, hey, Joe, how's it going? And he's like, yeah, man, good, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm blah, blah, blah from the forum. He's like, hey, man, how's it going? So he recognized me, and I was like, woo, hello, that's pretty cool. So that was a pretty neat experience. And the only other weird one is, you might have been too old, but maybe not, like when you came to town. You ever heard of Buckshot?
Yeah.
Buckshot. So there's Buckshot and Benny the Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're a staple for Calgary television.
Right.
Right? For like 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I never watched them,
no,
but I know who they are. Yeah.
So we would watch them at lunchtime and blah, blah, blah. And it was just a thing to do when you were a kid. And then my aunt got married. And it turns out that my uncle is Benny the Bear. So that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
It is kind of cool. It is cool. I still tell that story to people. No way. No way. Yeah. And sure as shit, I'm going to leave here tonight and go,
I should have told about this story.
One.
Yeah.
That time I met Tom Cruise and I had to kiss his mom or something, right?
Met Tom Cruise,
like, who knows?
Okay, your turn.
Okay.
Stop working on your house. I'm trying to do a podcast in here. Damn it.
I don't have an answer for that one, but it's going to be a good question. Okay. Let me try this one. And it's a tie back to one we had before. Not sort of, we did. What's that illegal thing that you did in a foreign country that you didn't get caught doing? So for me, it definitely was Japan, is the story that comes to mind. And it was, there's the the stereotypical story of, or the idea that foreign people can always get laid. Like the locals are always very interested in different people, which makes sense because different things are attractive. Anyway, so I'm 19 and I'm interested, and I meet this woman, and we go out. She takes me to foreigner bars in some other town that's quite far away.
This is in Japan.
This is in Japan,
Okay.
a Japanese lady. The other ones are usually just about drugs in the States. She takes me to a couple foreign bars, and just white people, and we're drinking and talking to like other people that speak English, because she's obviously interested in white people a great deal. And then she takes me to another bar, and she is 19, 6'3", big guy. Like I'm a big guy, and I can drink. I can drink alcohol in quite a large quantity. And alcohol is a huge part of their culture. And she felt like she could keep up. She couldn't. So she got fucking blotto. She was a mess. So now, here I am, in a town that I have no idea. Can't speak the language. It's not my town. It's who knows where. And she's driven us there. And she can't speak. Like, she can't speak English already. Like, so she
now
can't
she's
talk.
having trouble speaking Japanese.
Yeah, it's a real mess. They drive on the other side of the road there.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to drive, quite often they drive nice cars. Just, again, with that whole prestige thing. Anyway, so she had quite a nice Mercedes. So she is drunk. I'm not sober at all.
But you're holding your own.
Well,
Almost.
yeah.
You think you are.
Yeah, so every couple steps you might have to close one eye. But it's not, right? It's not, I'm not a total mess. But I gotta get home. So I had to drive this woman's car drunk on the other side of the road in a country I have no idea, in a direction, because she pointed. So I just drove. And because you're 19 and you're extra dumb, I'm driving way too fast. I'm driving over curbs. Like, because it's on the wrong fucking side. Every turn is a mess, right? Sober, every turn would be a mess. So I did eventually get there. I did eventually get back to the house. But that's probably the gnarliest thing I've ever done. And I talk about it in jest, because like sometimes you just gotta laugh at your own stupidity, because I certainly do not condone and abhor like drunk driving, but shit happens when you're 19 and stupid and you got a cute Japanese girl that can't talk beside you. So yeah, that was the wildest thing that I did, I think, illegally, that didn't get caught.
Well, my answer is going to be very anticlimactic, but then there's an interesting follow-up story. I can't think of any time as an adult that I did anything illegal outside of Canada. I hate to be a huge disappointment to that question. However, a very weird thing happened to me where I would recall and tell stories about, hey, fam, do you remember the time when I managed to go on my own while we were visiting family in New Jersey, in Trenton, New Jersey, and I managed to find my way into this department store down at the end of the main street, and I got caught for trying to steal a ball and got caught.
Right.
And then you guys had to come and collect me from the security at the store.
Sure.
for trying to steal this ball. And my family are looking at me like I am from another planet. They had no idea what I was talking about. And this story was so vivid in my brain that I was like, how can you not know what I'm talking about? There's the store at the end of that street, you know, the big department store, blah, blah, blah. And I went there on my own one day, and you guys didn't know about it. And I went in, and like a stupid idiot that I sometimes am, I tried to steal this ball, but I got caught, and you guys had to come and get me. And they were like, what are you talking about?
There was no ball. Yeah.
It never happened, according to them.
Isn't that wild?
It never happened. But in my brain, it was as vivid as if it had happened last week.
Crazy.
And then, you know, I could only draw the only logical conclusion which you can draw in circumstances like that, which is I must have dreamt it, but the dream was so vivid that my brain was fooled into believing that it had actually happened.
Right.
It's the only plausible explanation because no one in my family who were involved in this scenario have a clue what I'm talking about.
That's wild. I would love to know. I would love to know when you started to recall that story, because it certainly wasn't the next day.
No.
It was a huge period of time.
No. I would have been in my early 20s when I was talking to them about it and reminiscing about it.
I wonder if that's the first time
the
you thought
age I
about
would
it.
have been when it happened would have been like 8, 9.
Yeah, dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
When did you have that dream?
Exactly.
That's neat, man. That's neat.
A dream so vivid that I fooled myself into believing it was real.
I'm starting to wonder now if that alien spaceship in the rock.
It's a true story.
Oh man, you're not fucking from here, Karl.
Yeah, no kidding.
Huh?
No kidding. Okay. So sorry to disappoint that I haven't actually done anything illegal, but in my mind I have.
Wow, you're a badass in your dreams.
I'm a badass in my dreams.
Stealing balls.
Yep. Woo. Yep. I'm getting caught.
I just want everyone listening to recognize that Karl hasn't done anything illegal, which means he's really smart because he's not going to tell us what he did because it can fucking still get him. It happened a long time ago. I'm all right.
Yeah. Okay, my turn. So, if I had to go back to my youth and pick an alternative career path than the one that I actually chose, I might have become an audio engineer.
Right.
And the reason that I say that is because not only am I a huge fan of music, but I'm also really, really intrigued with how music is made in the studio.
Right.
Like if there is a documentary showing how a well-known album was made, I'm all over it.
Are you interested in the musicians, like the musical instrument part, or just the doodads on the board? Yeah.
The mixing.
Cool.
Finding that sound, the effects that are used, how a particular type of recording technique or equipment has creates a characteristic sound. Like when they were describing how all the weird ass trickery that they did when they were recording Dark Side of the Moon, for example, that just blew my fucking mind.
Sure.
Blew my mind, like how you could have so much expression and creativity above and beyond what you would expect to experience in a recording studio. Never mind what the musicians were doing,
of course,
with the equipment that they were messing around with. Because, in the case of Dark Side of the Moon, they were making synthesizers do things that nobody else had even tried or even imagined to try.
That's neat.
But yeah, so I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall watching the process And yeah, I couldn't play an instrument if my life depended on it, although I did give it a good go there for a little while. In fact, I still do have a keyboard lying around that I fart around with from time to time, but I can't read music, and I can't play a whole song to save my life. Yeah, the whole idea behind the recording engineer and how that person actually makes a completely unrecognized, unseen, but indelible mark on every album that's recorded. That has always intrigued me. And I think I would have had an extraordinary amount of fun doing that kind of work.
Right. So what prevented you from doing it?
Well, aside from the fact that I followed my best friend into the military thinking that was the best idea since sliced bread, learn a trade and get paid while you're doing it, and maybe get to see the world at the same time.
Yep.
I don't think I ever really even thought about recording music as a job until I was in my early to mid-20s, and I was already established in my career already.
You're already a career military guy.
I was already a career military guy, and I was very late to come to terms with my musical expressiveness in the first place, because most of my youth was spent listening to music on the radio because I never had enough money to buy my own. And once I had enough money to buy my own, not only did I buy music voraciously, I spent every fucking spare penny that I had in my pocket on music. But then I started playing it for other people.
Right.
And DJing on the side. And that's what got me interested in, the mixing. And then, I'd start to hear and read stories about what it's actually like in the recording studio. And that's what it was like, what? And then when they started making all of those documentaries on all the classic albums from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and what it was like to actually make those albums, not from the perspective of the musicians themselves, but from the people who were working behind the scenes.
Cool.
And you started to get an appreciation for how this technology and the people that were working the technology had as much of an impact on the album's sound as the actual people making the music.
Right.
In some cases, even more so. And I mean, look at what happened to some of these engineers. Like Alan Parsons ended up becoming a musician, a creative artist in his own right. What alternative career path could you have wanted to choose if you had the chance?
It's one that bugs me now, because it's one that I could... Well, I guess I can't now. As of 4 years ago, I couldn't choose it now. But I could pursue it as a thing to do. And that would be a stand-up comic.
Really?
I'd always wanted to do it.
Really?
My whole life, people had told me that I was funny.
Yeah.
And my whole life, my whole youth was consuming stand-up records, watching stand-up specials, just moved by them. I knew that I was weird because I would watch these things and I wouldn't laugh.
Right.
They were hysterical, but I wouldn't laugh because I was studying.
Right.
I was studying how a joke was built, how it lasted,
right,
the callbacks,
right,
all of it.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating to me. And I had always wanted to do it. And just never did, fell into other stuff as you do with life. But it was always there going, you could just go do it. You could just go do it. You could just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
No. And then I did what everybody says you're not supposed to do. And I listened to somebody who said I wouldn't be good at it. Like, you're not that kind of funny. Like, you're funny, but you're just not that kind of funny. And like a fool, I listened.
Right.
And I listened in my head to that one sentence for a really long time. And it's still something that I could pursue, and just, just F around with. But, so that was always one that I wanted to do. But back then, I wouldn't have ever considered it to be a career. It's just I wanted to be funny. Because there's nothing more than I enjoy than making people laugh. There is no better feeling that I've ever experienced than making people laugh. Yeah, it fills a gap. Or I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it's like a religious movement. It's crazy. So, yeah, so that's one. But if you ask the 7-year-old me, it would be paleontologist. Like every kid, I wanted to fucking work on dinosaurs. And it goes in line with the comedy bit would be customer service. Like there's no money in it, but my favorite job I've ever had was working at 7-Eleven. It was by far my favorite job. And working at Zeller's as a cashier. Because I was put in a position where I had zero responsibility, and I just got to talk to people, just regular old people, and I loved it. Because I don't like small talk, so when people would come, I would throw shit at them, like I'd toss a joke at them, like make fun of them or whatever the fuck they're buying within reason, and then just engage. I love engagement, and I was really good at it. Like I got awards and all sorts of shit. So I really liked it, but I knew that there was no, like when I worked in the record store for a long time, and that was such a wild job too, but the manager of that place was at that time, 35, 40-year-old man who was just fucking disheveled. Like he had nothing. And he worked his nuts off, right? And he had to build parts so he could ride his bike to work. Not because it was cool, because he made fucking $14 an hour or whatever the fuck the number was.
Yeah.
So I always knew that it wasn't something that I could do forever. And then while working at 7-Eleven, anyway, my dad said, "You got to get your shit together." And then I met you. But
Yeah.
that's how it went.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, something to do with comedy. Yeah.
Now you said earlier, too late to get into it now. What makes you think that?
Well, because you used the word career.
Right.
It couldn't be a career now.
Right.
Now I'm a father. It's just no way. I could fuck around with it.
Yeah.
Right. But I couldn't go touring. I couldn't.
Right.
Shit like that.
Right.
To make it a career.
Right. Have you ever done like an open mic?
No. I'm fucking terrified. Which, of course, you would be.
Of course.
Right? But I've never done it. I have so
Do you have
many...
any material?
No, I don't have any material
Assembled,
worked out.
right.
I've got ideas,
Yep.
but I've never written them. Because if I write them, Carl, I have to go perform them.
I think you should start writing.
You're absolutely right, I should. I absolutely should.
I could probably get you a gig too.
Yeah. I just have to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just... And I have to do it before I die. Because I've wanted to do it ever since listening to 7 Words You Can't Say on TV.
Right.
And I listened to that record way before I fucking should have.
And I think...
And hence the words that come out of my mouth constantly.
Yeah.
Fuck, shit, cocksucker, tits, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right? It taught me how to swear.
And I think you're probably... Although you may not think so, or maybe you do agree with it completely, you're probably better equipped to try it at this stage in your life just due to all of the life experiences you've lived and the people that you've met.
Sure.
The weird-ass people and the things about them that have made you laugh. You could use that in your own material.
Right.
Because, you talk to any comedian, whether they're stand-up or just, theatrical or performing in storytelling, they're always drawing their personas and their characters and stuff from people that they know, from people they've encountered. you've probably got a better palette of source material now than you would have had you tried it when you were younger. Not to say that you wouldn't have had any interesting stories, but now you could probably really hit home runs and not even realize it.
That's probably quite likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Your turn.
Okay. Just give me a sec.
Yeah.
Because there's a question here, and I read it, and I'm like, fuck. This is a beauty question, but I don't know if I have an answer for it.
Well, there's nothing stopping you from asking it of me first.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to have to. What completely ruins a movie for you?
Completely ruins a movie?
Well, don't necessarily fixate on the word completely, but like what thing happens in a movie and you're like, what the fuck, this thing?
Oh.
I think being classified as rom-com doesn't help it.
Well, it's sometimes, and I'm going to have a great deal of difficulty coming up with an example of this.
Sure.
I just know that I've encountered this a few times, and it's made me go, really? Where did you fucking find these people? I can't stand it when I'm watching a movie and it seems so obvious what should happen next.
Oh, yeah.
Or what should be said next to just perfectly line up the fucking stars and make you go, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't fucking happen. And you think to yourself, okay, is somebody playing a fucking joke on me? They're going to come around to this, right? Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. They're just holding on to that idea, and then they're going to fucking spring it on you just when you thought they're completely lost their minds and they missed the opportunity completely. And then they're coming around and you go, wing, there it is. And you're going to go, right. Well done. Perfect. And they don't.
Right.
And you're just like, how is it that I'm coming up with a better idea for what should be happening next in the movie than the people who actually made the fucking movie?
Right.
That's what ruins it for me. When I can think of a better idea on what should happen next or what should be said
It's very
next.
unsatisfying.
Yeah.
I find that. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Because didn't they realize that they should have just done this or said this and it would have been perfect? It would have been the perfect finish. And they didn't do it. They didn't go for it. They didn't see it. And it doesn't happen a lot. But yeah, whenever I encounter that situation, I kind of think to myself, did they switch writers in the middle of the movie or something? And the new writers just didn't get it? They just didn't see the writing on the wall? And they didn't know how to really take the story where it needed to go? Or it seemed pretty obvious to me what had to happen next. But so that's what it is for me.
So I thought of two. One is, every person will probably relate to this in some manner, is when specifically they're doing something in IT and you're like, the fuck are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
But that in itself doesn't bug me. But when the rest of the movie is, but when the rest of the movie is really well researched,
right.
but then they just miss.
They gloss over the IT part.
Yeah. I'm like, dude,
come on.
that's such a simple concept that you just glossed over.
Yeah.
And you would have had a lot of people go, cool.
Yeah.
Right? And they miss that. That doesn't happen very often
I relate to
where
that
the
too.
two bits come together. Because, every movie or TV show, like they don't have IT writers. So they don't know IT stuff. And that's fine. Okay. Same thing with doctor shit. Like, right?
And there's probably doctors in the audience doing the exact same thing.
That's what I mean, is like everybody can probably relate to this, to their field.
Right.
But something that has bugged me, TV, movies, books, and it's a very personal thing. I don't know where it comes from, but I've always been greedy for money. Since a little kid, I've always been really fixated on money.
Okay.
My uncle would tease me by throwing quarters out the window and watch me cry. What a fucking asshole.
Are you serious?
And I would bawl my brains out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I would be so upset. So anyway, so... yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And as I get older, I've always fantasized about, like, coming into money. Actually, a real big one is always in my head about finding a genie.
Oh, yeah.
And fucking wishing for all of the money. And so something that always ruins it for me, and like hard ruins it for me, is in a movie when somebody comes into a bunch of money and then they lose it because of their own stupidity. And it
rubs you the wrong way.
No, it sickens me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like this visceral response. It makes me sick.
Wow.
And I don't like it.
Oh boy.
It's wild. I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Huh.
But that, like, it definitely ruins it. Like, this is fucking stupid. Like, because it's the happiest ending that ever could be.
Right.
Like, their whole life is going to be different. I'm not here to fucking debate does it give you happiness, but you know, having $500 million, I'm going to be pretty happy.
And they lived happily ever after.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
End of story.
Yeah.
Stop.
But then they
lose it all.
Fucking lose it all by, you know, giving it to some guy to invest or bought some stupid thing. Or, oh my God. Or, just fucked it up. Yeah, man.
And it makes you ill.
It sickens me.
Wow.
Like, I gotta turn it off. And another one I just thought of is I suffer from acute third-party embarrassment. So, like, The Office.
Yes.
It takes me, it's a 24-minute episode. It takes me 60 minutes to get through because I have to pause it. Because I'm, like, my whole body
every time something
cringing.
awkward.
Like,
really?
I physically cringe. And I can't watch it.
God, I am the exact opposite.
I hate it. But if it's fake and it's scripted, it's not as bad. It can still be really bad.
Right.
But when it happens in real life, like I can't do it. It is so uncomfortable.
Oh wow.
So uncomfortable.
See, for me it's the exact opposite.
Like,
and I'll
nuts are
use
tingling.
The Office as an example too,
Okay.
but not the American version.
Right.
The original Brit version.
Yeah.
The opening scenes from the very first episode of that show hooked me so hard because of just how fucking unbelievably inept this guy was.
Sure.
And I don't know if I can actually do his smile, but that fucking goofy grin that he makes whenever he realizes he said something inappropriate.
Yeah.
It brings joy to my heart because it's like, and I know it's not, and I know in my brain that it's not real.
Right.
And I think that may even add to because the guy is just doing such a glorious job.
Yeah.
Wallowing in his own ineptness.
Sure.
And then he just fucking plows right on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a massive uncomfortable moment as he looks at the camera with that goofy little grin of his, and then he just plows right through into the next stupid situation, and I fell in love with it immediately.
Right.
And Darlene could not relate. She could not relate at all. She was just like, this is so fucking stupid.
Right.
And I go, no, this is brilliant. Whoever came up with this idea is a fucking genius. Because this guy is an idiot.
Right.
He's a fucking idiot. And he revels in his idiocy. While everybody else is just kind of like looking around like, what the fuck?
Right. Yeah, man. That's funny.
Oh my God. Yeah. The uncomfortableness, you just can't handle it.
Oh, no.
That is
and it's
so
super popular.
Funny. Yeah.
It's super popular, or was
I know.
a number.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
whole movies of
movies, TV shows. TV shows are a big one.
Yeah.
Like there's entire subreddits built towards cringe. Like that's like part of the fucking nomenclature for the youth nowadays.
Yeah.
Like cringe.
Yeah.
Like this makes me. I hate it. I hate it.
Okay, here's
Okay,
one
your
for
turn.
you. Here's one for you. If I had to name a skill or an ability that I learned that I didn't realize would be so useful in life, it would be improvisation. So I'll try to not go too overboard with this.
Oh man, yeah,
Because I could fucking go on for hours. As I've already related to you before, I got into acting completely by accident, totally at the behest of Darlene. She made me take some acting classes. Turned out that I was doing improv exercises during most of them. That really intrigued me. Decided to go to Loose Moose to find out more about that. Watched improvisers hone their craft on stage, both in classes and in front of live audiences. And much to my surprise, didn't really want to get on stage with them and make the stories that they were making with these gifts and exercises that they had learned and were practicing in real time. But I started to see how these skills of cooperation and collaboration and leaving your ego at the door and trying not to monopolize a story and going with the flow and being in the moment and trying to make your partner look like a genius instead of making yourself look like one, were all transferable skills.
Absolutely. Yep.
And why the fuck weren't we teaching these skills to the masses?
Right.
For better collaboration and teamwork at work, better collaboration and, people actually listening to each other in real life. And yeah, like I had no idea when I was getting into it just what an impact it was going to have on the way I looked at things, and the new problem solving and creativity tools that I suddenly had at my disposal that I didn't even realize were a thing.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Until after I learned them.
Cool.
So that's it for me. Improvisation. I had no idea how powerful of a tool or skill that was going to be for me. And I probably have only scratched the surface in what I've been able to do with it. What about you? What skill have you learned that you didn't realize would be as useful as it turned out to be?
So I can sort of think of two, but one of them isn't really it surprised me. I guess it's like the improv one where it surprised me that this thing that I was doing, I could see it being transferable and usable in the real world. And it comes back to World of Warcraft. Is in World of Warcraft you play with these large groups of people, of 25 people to accomplish a task. Each person has to do their job or everybody dies and you have to start the task over again. So the skills that because I was in it deep, was assessing people, their skills in the roles that they had, and their ability to adapt or change or whatever, and based on that, placing them in play, on the map, so to speak, on what they're going to do. And then I was a part of the group that would, like I didn't lead it. I helped build it, and I assessed the assets that we had to then implement them, and then another group of people would take over and drive it based, like they would say, we are now doing this, and all the people that I would place would do their job, And I would have to make sure that these people could do it. So the transferable skill was the assessing of people's skills and seeing their strengths and weaknesses, tying someone who has a weakness here with someone who has the opposite strength and putting them together to get them to grow. I had no idea that these could be useful things. And talking to a group of people, like 40 people, because you talk on headsets and shit, like I'm talking to 40 people, coordinating all these people, and you get people who are super pissed off about what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. So you'd have to manage all that. And when I finally made my way up in the rungs in the industry that I'm in, I could see that it's exactly the same thing. And I was immediately very good at it because I had been doing it for years.
Right.
So it was really very surprising. Like, of course, in hindsight, as I speak about it, like, of course, it's not surprising. That's what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
But the way that I learned...
while you're doing it, you're not thinking, oh, this is going to help me in my career.
Right. I'm fucking playing a video game, right? Video games don't do anything. They just rot your brain.
Yeah.
No, it greatly helped me, big time. And the other small one is customer service. I learned it when I was 16 working at Pizza Hut. How to get along with people, being the bottom rung and doing what you can to help people to make everybody look good. By doing so, people will help you because they don't see you as a threat.
Right.
And they enjoy you and they help you grow and shit like that. So skills that I learned at my very first job helped do that because I started in the dish pit and I left an assistant manager. Like I went all like that story from the 40s of what you're supposed to do for a career, right? Yeah. I did it all the way. And then to other customer service jobs is just how to talk to people. Because the ones at Pizza Hut were how to work within a team. And the customer service ones were how to accomplish the same things with total strangers that you'll never see again. And I use them every day. Like I use those skills every day and I don't have a job. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Okay.
Is this going to be our last one?
It absolutely could be. I'll ask I have two bonus questions. We'll call it that. And they're very short answers unless you don't want them to be.
Right.
Okay? The first one is, what's the worst thing you can say to someone after sex? Or maybe even, what's the worst thing you've ever said to someone after sex?
See, this is a hard one. No, seriously, this is a hard one for me to answer.
So in my head, it's more foot and mouth than it is like...
Right.
It's not like... So my wife told me what it was. What is the worst thing that I could say after sex? She told me what it was today because I had said it to her.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah. And it had to be like it was definitely one of the very first times that we had sex. And I was like very first or second. And it was, I don't remember the words exactly, but it was all very exciting and there was no protection used by my part.
Right.
So she was on the pill, but there was no protection used by my part. And she was new in my life and I was worried. And I said, right when we finished, I said, you're going to have to get a pregnancy test. We were lying beside each other, still breathing heavy. And I said, you're going to have to get a pregnancy test.
Mood killer.
Oh my God. What did you say? Yep. She was not pleased.
And obviously she still remembers that line to this day.
Yes, she does.
So it had quite an impact.
Yes, she does. That's a pretty horrible thing to say to somebody that you've just engaged in this.
See, that could be part of your stand-up act.
Oh, yeah. All right, do you want my last bonus question?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Do it.
What's a taste you'll never forget?
Oh. The taste that I've been suffering through since fucking the third week of January when I got COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And my sense of sweet completely fucking disappeared and got replaced with bitter.
Right.
And everything that was supposed to be good tasted like shit. Shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's coming back. It's slowly coming back. But that after bitter taste is still there. The nerve damage is not fixed.
Crazy.
And it's driving me nuts because things that should taste glorious don't.
Right.
At first, they were not glorious at all. They were gross.
Yeah.
And now they're like semi-glorious.
Uh-huh.
And I'm finding that it depends on the kind of sweet as to how much of a drastic change there is in the taste too. For example, chocolate still tastes very chocolatey, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, because there are some chocolates that you eat that aren't that sweet.
Sure.
So I can eat chocolate and still get a lot of joy out of it, because all I'm missing is probably that extra dose of kick you in the ass sweetness that you shouldn't really even be having in the first place. Still allowing me to enjoy it. But when you're drinking like a carbonated beverage that's got sugar in it and you're drinking it, it's just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Just bubbly gross.
What is this?
Right.
This is not, why am I even drinking this?
Right.
It's not even enjoyable. And that's why I couldn't give you my honest to God impression of what I thought of Zevia.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because I thought, for all I know, my taste buds are playing tricks on me right now, and I'm not actually tasting what it's supposed to taste like.
Sure. It's interesting when I asked somebody else this question, like I presented the questions, and when I asked this question, they went, man, I like a lot of things. And it's funny because I remember the tastes that I like, but it's the taste that I don't like is the one I remember, and the taste that I will never, ever, ever forget is the taste of earwax. Never will I ever forget the taste of earwax. Scratching your ear and you forget, it goes in your mouth and you're like, what has happened? Everything I knew has changed. Never.
I can't even imagine.
Give it a go.
The first time I ever got grossed out by food was, I had a friend, I must have been, I'm going to say 10, 11-ish, and I was over at a friend's house just over at the next street from where I lived, and his dad was a weird ass fucking guy. And then one day he goes, "Hey, you ever had oysters?" I'd be like, "No." And he's like, I'm gonna prepare some oysters." And I'm just like, "No, that's cool." And he goes, "No, you really should try it." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not really interested." And he's like, "No, really, you should try it." And I tasted raw oyster for the first time in my life. And it was the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten in my life. It ruined a lot of different kinds of seafood for me, because I thought, fuck, if this is what seafood tastes like, I want no part of it.
Sure.
It's like basically someone fucking hawked a goober in your mouth, for fuck's sake. Yeah, and then you had to swallow it.
Oh, yeah.
But a giant fucking goober.
Yeah, it's a big...
I did not enjoy that at all. That was fucking gross. And they thought it was hilarious how much I was grossed out by it.
It is pretty funny. I got a food one when I was little. My stepmom, not a great cook. Not a great cook. Have you ever listened to this? I'm sorry. Bad. And I remember she had prepared, like I made a soup or some shit, or whatever it was, and I got a bowl of it, and like there were noodles and other things in it, so whatever. I took a bite of it, and instantly it was like a punch in the face. And I realized immediately that I had taken an entire, like, OXO cube in my mouth. She didn't mix it. So I got a spoonful of OXO cube in my mouth. it was overwhelming.
I bet.
I remember that taste. And that was, I had to be 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but yeah, it's definitely earwax.
So that's it for episode 10.
Woo!
Hope you enjoyed that little ride. No idea what's in episode 11. We haven't even discussed the next topic.
We've been talking about 10 for so long.
I know.
Yeah, and it's been delayed so many times.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, so thanks for listening,
Yeah, thanks.
all y'all. Like and subscribe.
We will see you next time on Talkbots.
Talkbots!